This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
K-pop Demon Hunters Haja Boys Breakfast Meal and Huntrix Meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
It is Monday. The coffee's hot. Headlines are hot. This show is in fuego. You guys ready to do this?
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and this week we're practicing good money habits. New data shows that record numbers of people are borrowing from their retirement funds. How do you make sure you aren't one of them? We'll tackle setting up your foundation on today's show. But that's not all. After my amazing trivia segment, we'll roll out a new segment, Financial Basics for Noobs. What are the components of a well-rounded financial plan? OG and CFP Anna Allam will dive in. CFP, I never knew that was her first name. Must be a family name. And now, 2 guys who are diving into another great week of money podcasting. It's Joe and OG.
Hey there, Stackers, and happy Monday to you. And while it's not a happy Monday for some people, if they've taken money out of their 401k to pay off debt.
Depends on what they spent it on.
Maybe it was a super fun weekend, but you know, OG, that goes nowhere. How are you this morning, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm absolutely great because we're going to help a lot of people today because apparently more people getting in trouble than we've had in the not so distant future.
Well, I mean, if you're a time traveler.
And maybe I am. Maybe that's what's going on here. Doug, you doing well this fine Monday?
I am. Weather's finally turning. Got a couple of birds chirping, the crazy ones who showed up too early. But yeah, everything's going well. Had a great weekend.
They're calling this the false spring because there's another Arctic blast on the way. Absolutely false. Don't get fooled. One thing that we're not fooling about is helping you with your money today. So sit back, relax, maybe grab wherever you're going to take notes because we're going to help you, especially if you're somebody who has lately felt the pinch in your budget. We're going to help you get rid of that pinch on today's show. But before we do that, we're going to have a couple of sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. So you don't pay a dime for any of this goodness. We're going to hear from them. And then OG, Doug, and I, we're going to dive into this recent headline, new Vanguard report out, and the results aren't good. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow-knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, they're breathable, they're comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, love your pants. Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're Flownet activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, that is my favorite sweater on you. It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier, because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamins headlines.
This piece comes to us from Fast Company. More Americans than ever, OG, tapping their 401ks for emergency cash. This is written by Sarah Bregel. Sarah writes, Americans are seeking financial relief and in some cases are even desperate enough to go against conventional financial wisdom. A record number of Americans are turning to their retirement funds to cover emergency expenses. So number one, yeah, I know. The number of people putting money into their 401k continued to go up last year, but the number of people taking money out in 2024, 4.8% of people reported that they had to take money out. By the way, and that is up. Before the pandemic, the number was 2% of people said they were tapping their 401k, 4.8% in 2024. That was worrying. Now we're all the way up to 6% of people taking hardship withdrawals from their 401k. So these aren't even people borrowing from the 401k or just ripping the money out and paying the penalty, OG. These are people using those hardship withdrawal rules to say, I'm able to access my cash.
I feel like they missed an opportunity with the title of this article. Shouldn't it have been called I Tap That?
401k? I tap that? That sounds like a Stacking Benjamin segment right there.
Come on.
Maybe we need to make that the title of today's show. 401ks? OG, let's talk about this. First of all, taking money out of your 401k. Sarah describes this in this piece as going against conventional wisdom. Why is for people that have never
lazy writing?
For people that have never heard this, though, because in some places people go, oh, you know what? 401k loans. You can take out a 401k loan. You pay yourself back. That's good. Why do we not want to borrow? Why is this conventional wisdom that this is the last place that you want to go to for money when you have a hardship?
Well, I'm not entirely sure that it's like literally the last place, but it's down there a little ways.
Why?
But why is it down there?
Because there's some people going, well, yeah, there's some people going, well, wait a minute. This
is not a good enough answer.
And there it is. We've been waiting 14 years to hear that. And it's always the subtext with him all the time, but he finally came out with it.
I said the quiet part out loud.
Yes,
he did.
Just because I said, why don't you want to take money out of your 401k? Well, I mean, there's a number of reasons. While it is true that, air quotes, you pay interest to yourself, basically from a mechanic standpoint, what happens is you're borrowing money from your 401k provider who secures your loan with the proceeds from your retirement plan. You say, okay, I'm going to do this as a 401k loan. I'm going to take 50K. They say, all right, we're going to hold on to this 50 and kind of segregate it so that we can keep track of this. Then they charge you interest, but then they also pay you interest based on the money sitting in the account, because it's not going to be invested anymore. Now it's got to be safe and secure, because if you default on your loan, the brokerage company can't risk you trading it into, NVIDIA stock or something. So a couple of things that are not so great about it. Number one is you lose the potential return with that money. You're basically taking the money out of your asset allocation, whatever that looks like, and you're putting it into, a secure fixed income type of product to cash type of thing. The second thing that happens that's a little bit more creative destruction in terms of behind the scenes is you pay the money back out of your paycheck, which sounds convenient, but you pay it back with after-tax money. So if you borrow 50K, you're paying yourself back, which is true, at a relatively marketable interest rate, which is also true. But you're doing it with after-tax dollars, which makes it a little bit more expensive than how the money probably went in there to begin with, which probably was a pre-tax contribution.
Yeah, in the end, it's all going to wash out. And the blah, blah, blah. It still makes it harder to pay off. It makes it a longer bridge to pay off the loan because of the fact that you're using after-tax dollars to pay it back.
Yeah, and again, for a lot of people, and I guess maybe arguably generally for the people who are borrowing money from their 401k, they may not be in the highest tax bracket anyway. And so you might be saying, well, geez, it's still a lower cost than using Visa, which may be true. That's kind of what I was saying at the beginning here when you said, well, why would I want this to be the last place? I don't know that I want it to be the last place, but it's not the first. I think we have to separate this too into, you brought up hardship withdrawals, and I'm kind of talking about 401k loans.
Yeah.
And those are kind of two different things, really.
Yeah. Good point.
One might argue that a 401k loan is more discretionary.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got to pay off some credit cards, and I think this is an efficient way of doing it. Or I want to purchase a piece of property, and this is a way for me to get the down payment, kind of on the cheap type of thing. People might say like, that's not the world's greatest use of money, but hey, it's my money and I can use it how I want. Hardship withdrawals, on the other hand, have a very specific use case. When you are selecting a hardship withdrawal, what you're saying is, if I don't take money from this locked up account, then something even more catastrophic is going to happen. I might lose my house. I might not be able to pay my medical bills. I've got tuition that's due for my kids, kind of imminent financial danger, so to speak, if I don't take that money out. And in a hardship withdrawal, the money is going to be taxable to you. I should say, if it's pre-tax contributions, it's going to be taxable. They're just eliminating the 10% penalty for the early withdrawal because you're claiming this exemption of, catastrophic financial harm. So even in that case, with a hardship withdrawal, you're not even putting the money back ever. Like you're just
Gone.
saying, I need to consume this money to, get my lips above water, basically.
And I've been in this spot before where I thought the present is so bad that I think I need to touch this money. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because I found another way. It didn't make it so that I had to mortgage my present and my future. You know what I mean? The thing I worry about, OG, is the present sucks a ton, but when you get rid of your ability to ever get financial independence by borrowing from future you, then the situation stays bad. So I'm really not a fan for that reason. And With the 401k loan, let's talk about the 401k loan before we get to the hardship. With a 401k loan, if you lose your job for any reason and for whatever reason you can't pay it back, now you do have the 10% penalty that you were talking about on the 401k loan. So, that can get ugly in a hurry if life goes the wrong way and bigger hardships happen. We'll talk about the hardship withdrawal in just a second, but Doug?
Well, I have a question about that because OG gave a couple of specific examples and I wanted to ask a question about that, but I can hold it, Dad.
Well, let's dive into that because, so the hardship withdrawals, generally known as these immediate, pretty heavy financial needs, but those have become bigger in the last few years, OG. Medical expenses. We will link to a show where we talked about medical expenses. If you guys remember, we had the awesome young lady Amani on, who is 19 years old, had over $40,000, and hospitals have programs themselves. So you don't have to borrow from your future. Hospitals have programs to help you with medical expenses, potentially. Doesn't work with everybody, but could help you there. Eviction protection, OG. I think if you're going to get evicted from your house, probably a good reason to take the hardship withdrawal.
Well, I mean, on the medical side, yeah, you should never use your 401k for medical expenses because, to your point, just about anyway, every medical institution has a whole department associated with how to help people financially. And if it's like emergency care, they can't prevent you from getting emergency care because you can't pay. Now you may not be able to have the elective surgery you desire or something like that. There's, a lot of nuance there for sure. But with hospitals, especially as people start unpackaging all the different ways to pay for hospital or pay for medical expenses, there's a big thread I was reading a couple of weeks ago about how people are paying for medical expenses in retirement. And that's obviously a big topic, right? Like, if I want to retire, I need health insurance, whatever. And the argument that the person had was you just really need some catastrophic insurance if you can find it, because everything else, if you pay cash for, is profoundly less expensive. And I've had that experience myself, and maybe a lot of people have, where, you go, I need the MRI for, my busted knee or something like that. And you run it through insurance and you've got to have a $2,000 copay. You pay cash, it's $325 and they can do it tomorrow. It's like, what are we doing? I mean, that's a whole different state of affairs. But I think if you're looking at medical expenses as a reason for a hardship withdrawal, I think you have to dig a lot deeper and don't let them bully you into using your 401k. Their job is to get you to pay the money. They're like, hey, you got a 401k, just take a loan, take a hardship withdrawal. On the house front, while it's super important to have a shelter, obviously, if you're close to an eviction on your house, if you own the house and maybe you've got some equity, I think you also want to explore some other opportunities there too. Like, can you short sell it? Can you, if you're at the eviction stage, you have been dealing with this for a long time. It's not like you miss a payment and all of a sudden they come on the 31st and,
you've been missing a lot of payments.
There's a lot of snowballing that's going on here. So maybe you've explored all these other options and you haven't been able to solve it. But, instead of paying for this, getting caught up and now you're still in the problem. That's my concern with 401k loans or hardship withdrawals out of retirement plans is, unless it completely makes the problem go away, all you did was delay the inevitable.
Kick the can down the road.
Yeah. And sometimes that's good enough, right? You're like, I just need to get through this rough patch because as soon as I get working again, whatever. And I get that. But if you haven't really eliminated the issue, it always has a chance of coming back up again. And I know maybe in a little bit, we're going to talk about some mitigating strategies when it comes to, not having to deal with this in the future. If you're thinking like, how do I prevent this from happening to me? But using the housing as an example, if I can take $50K out of my 401k as a hardship withdrawal and pay my mortgage off, the eviction stuff's gone. And now I own the house outright and my total out of pocket is going to be my insurance, my taxes. I like that a lot better than I'm renting a house and I'm going to take this money out and I'm just going to get back to even money. And now next month, I still owe rent again. Like, what did you do? You bought yourself 30 days or 60 days to start the process over again. If you're in the situation that there's all this chaos going on, then you have to recognize that everything counts. Everything's on the table. Maybe you need to bounce from that living arrangement and go find something more affordable and Maybe that's in a different part of the city or a different part of the county or a different part of the state or a different part of the country.
Yeah, a lot of these. I mean, it's a time when it's tough to be creative because you can just feel the pinch every day. What am I going to do next? But a little creativity goes a long way. Funeral costs are another one. Obviously, I think that's going to be a one-time event. Disaster-related losses.
Yeah, funeral costs seems like a thing you have to do. Do you? I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like,
no, you don't.
You know, like, or what? You know?
Or what?
I mean, I don't want to be a complete jackwagon here, but
no, it's true.
You know, no, you don't understand. Grandma died. It's like, I know.
Right.
What do I got to come out of pocket for that for?
Because of a fairly recent social convention in the last 120 years, you're forced to pay for the huge coffin that's all mahogany and all the flowers? No.
I'm not throwing shade on the industry, but
oh no, that's not what I'm saying.
It's a pretty tough spot to be in from a selling/buying perspective. Like, this is why when we do financial planning, why we have a whole section dedicated to stress testing the plan. Because, and people go, well, that's kind of, you know, normal, right? You stress test it. It's like, yeah, but we want to stress test it against like emotional events, because you're never going to make really good financial decisions in the same moment that you're stressed emotionally, right? Look at the good side. I won the lottery. Like, all right, woohoo. Like, who makes really good decisions the day after they cash their check from the Powerball? No one. Who makes really good decisions the day after they got laid off and the market's down 30% and they got their third eviction notice and they're, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a good day to make financial. Oh, and grandma died, right? Now you're in the funeral director's office and he's going, well, you know, grandma, she was really important to you, right? And I'm not saying they're slimy. I'm just saying like this isn't the time to be writing $15,000 checks. Like, it's just be like, or what? Like, what happens if I do nothing here? Can we just
we had a fantastic discussion with industry insider Scott Mueller about this last summer. I'll link to that. And for people that heard that, I got more emails about this than any show around that time, because he just opened up on what the industry does. He's a guy that sold his, like many people in the funeral industry, OG, he sold his funeral home, his whole operation to private equity, and he saw what they did with it. And some of it was pretty slimy, and he bought it back because of the sliminess that was happening. So he just opens up about the industry and some of the things.
Just be like, yeah, put grandma on ice. We'll come back in 6 months when things are a little better.
We'll link to that in the show notes, because Scott was an awesome industry insider. But also when it comes to this issue, this is why I like some of the prepayment ideas. For people that are on the other side of this, they're not people who are going to take a 401k loan, but they're like, why would I prepay for this? Because I think that during these emotional times, OG, is when you make some really dumb decisions. No, I want the Detroit Lions logo all over the coffin, and I'm going to pay extra for that.
You don't understand. Grandpa loved the Lions.
That's right. Yeah.
Could you imagine, by the way, sitting down and being like, okay, so we've got the mahogany. And I mean, you do have a 401k, right? I mean, dude, this is a hardship. This qualifies. Like, what the heck?
During the prepayment meeting, you're not going to do that. No, it doesn't mean you're not going to make all the right decisions.
So I'm opposed against the prepayment idea too, only because I can't guarantee those people are still in business, you know, and secondarily, like, now they're holding on to my money.
I'm actually talking the other side of this, because we did this with my mom, and I thought because of the fact that you're not emotional beforehand, you're not going to do the Detroit Lions logo. Like, my dad would look them in the eye and go, yeah, we're not doing that. Nobody needs that. I don't need, I'm dead. Who cares if I like the Lions? They also, by the way, just so you know, they had contingency plans against, here's what happens if something happens to us. This is what happens with this arrangement. Now, it doesn't mean that what they tell you is actually going to happen, but I'll tell you, when my sister and I walked in with my mom the day after my dad died, and it was all taken care of, and she had done it when she was not emotional and my dad was not emotional, versus them selling us the day when my mom's crying.
Yeah.
That was incredible. I thought that was amazing.
You just got to time it out. So you're like 85. So there's not like a lot of market growth still left on your 15 grand that you're like 48. You're like, I don't know that I want to prepay this, because if I put this in the market for the next 30 years, this turns into like, you know.
I don't know. I thought it was a decent insurance policy. I thought my parents did the right thing by having that done. I remember when my mom looked at this woman who was a badass and said, well, what do I have to do today? And the woman said, nothing. I just want to tell you what you already did, remind you of what you already did. You did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. You don't have to do anything today.
Yeah.
So you're saying they not only made choices, but they prepaid.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't even have to go that far. You can clarify with your parents or make your wishes known to your kids about what you want to do, just so it's written out. And you could potentially reduce costs that way for
100%.
your spouse or for your kids, and just say, look, this is all I want. Like when my dad passed, we knew exactly what he wanted, and it was a cardboard box. I'm not joking. Like that, sorry to be morbid, but that really did make things a lot easier and eliminated a whole conversation at the time. In that horrible moment, it eliminated a whole conversation.
I'm smiling because it sounds like my dad and your dad might know each other, because I'm pretty sure my dad has an old refrigerator box in his garage somewhere that he's like earmarked. Like, just use this one.
Yeah.
We don't even have to go find one. Like, I've saved this one for 25 years.
Right.
If you've got the right, and this gets down a whole different topic, which is estate planning, 100%, if you've got the right person as your executor of your will, or the person in charge of your trust work, like this person, having that right person is great. But I'll tell you that my mother-in-law had a person that would still be emotional with the funeral director. My grandmother had somebody, my aunt, who was a wonderful woman, but still did not follow a bunch of the stuff in the will because of the emotional ties that were in there. The prepayment avoided all of that. So you can clearly go either way on that. And I get not prepaying. And if you've got the right person in charge, I think that's, but because as an example for one family member, I'm the person who's in charge and I'm going to do exactly what it says. And that, by the way, makes it non-emotional for me, because I'm just going to look at whoever it is and go, no, this is what it says. It says this exactly here. So we're doing that, which is great. But sadly, you and I both seen people.
I was going to say, back to 401k loans.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spun this for like 7 minutes into,
I know, right?
Funeral planning.
We have talked though about funeral cost and other options, eviction protection and other options, and these last disaster related is what it is. You might have to take a 401k hardship withdrawal for that. But the other two that they loosened recently drive me crazy, OG. Home purchase and tuition. Mm-hmm. Are two that if you're raiding your 401k for a home purchase or for tuition, I think I can use the word that you and I don't like to use very often. I think the never word comes up.
Yeah. I mean, on the tuition front, I would generally agree with that. I'm trying to think of a scenario where it would make sense. I mean, just arguably the loan cost of, education loan, a student loan or a parent loan is likely to be lower than the 401k cost, because, earlier I said, sometimes you can avoid a 10% penalty, which is kind of a kick in the teeth on top of the kick in the teeth. Because when you take money out of your 401k, it's taxable to you, assuming that it's a pre-tax 401k, so if you take that 50K out, it's like you made another $50,000. And the people who are taking 50K out aren't saying, oh, by the way, I should withhold 25% for taxes. They're going, I need every dollar and I'll deal with the tax problem later. So now you've got a $12,000 tax problem, 6 months from now or a year from now that you got to come up with the money for. And if it doesn't qualify of one of the limited circumstances for not the penalty, and you also have another 10% penalty on top of that, another $5,000. Either way, you're going to pay taxes on it, which is another big number on top of that withdrawal. And I guess I would just say, this is a time to tell your kid no, or just let them solve it. If like you're adamant that kid has to go to such and such a school and it's going to be, X dollars, like, okay, if you really want to go, then you have to figure it out. I will help you pack. We want to do stuff for our kids, but we also have to like kind of do it within reason. Right. And then the other one you said was the home purchase. I'm less for certain on this one, but I'm still pretty certain that I don't want to do that. That's all I can say about that one. I can see reasons why people would want to and not, but
yeah,
I see more reasons not to than to. Let me put it that way. I think what you're doing, Joe, and what I would encourage everybody else to do here with this also is you have to think in future dollars with this, because it's not about the immediacy of, you don't understand, my rent sucks, I can totally get into this house, the only place I have money is, we can rationalize all those reasons. And a lot of times all those reasons make a lot of sense. Like, you don't understand, Junior's really smart. Like I promised I was going to help them with college. You know, it's a little tighter than I thought. If I just take this little bit, instead of thinking of it in terms of this finite dollars today, think about the outcome in retirement down the line. You know, if you're 45 years old or if you're 40 years old and you're saying, hey, I'm going to take this $50K out because I can move school districts, and you know, you got all this rationalization as to why it makes sense to buy a house and move, and the only place you got is your 401k. Take that $50,000 and grow it for the next 25 years. And then maybe the next 20 years after that. Let's just assume this was the last $50K that you were going to use in retirement. And just kind of rule of 72 it, saying, hey, how often is this going to double? Well, if I'm 40 years old and I got 25 years before I retire, and then maybe got another 20 years after that until I'm dead, and then some, I got a 45-year time horizon. You know, if it doubles every 7 years, you're talking about 6 doubles. You know, that 50 is 100, it's 200, it's 400, it's 800, it's $1.6 million, it's $3 million. So think about it and say, is buying a house right now worth losing $3 million or $1 million, $1.5 million of retirement assets?
That is what I'm doing, by the way. And I'm glad you.
Yeah, you're doing it in your brain. You're not, you're thinking of it going, oh, that's stupid. That's like $1 million decision.
But you've shown a light on that, and I'm glad you did, because we don't think that way naturally. We don't go, what is 60-year-old me going to think of this move 40-year-old me is making right now? 60-year-old me is going to look back and go, oh my God, if I'd had that money and I'd found a different way, this would be so much easier.
I mean, I started in this business. You started a little before me, but I started right as the Roth IRA started. That'll come as a shock to people that it hasn't been around the entirety of time. There was a beginning. Or
they just think you're a lot older than you make out to be.
Yeah, there was a day that it started, and I distinctly remember early in my career to max out a Roth was $166.67 a month. It's $2,000 a year, and that was in the late 90s, early 2000s. As I look back today, I did not do any Roth contributions for a very long time in my life, and as I look back today, I think like, what the heck was going on in my life that I didn't have $50. I didn't have $75. I didn't have $100 a month. Come on. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I mean, it was tight. Like I was a newlywed, just getting the business off the ground. You know, I was broke college, just out of college kid. Like I didn't have $50. I didn't have $100. Like, come on,
Skip
man.
a golf round once in a while, OG.
I know. It was probably that, or it was all the clubs that I had to replace because they got misplaced on the golf course.
Misplaced on the golf course.
All the beers at the party. It was like seriously, like $50, man. Like, you know how much money I'd have in my Roth right now if I'd just done that for 25 years?
Yep. Could have done it over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. I wouldn't have to hang out with you idiots anymore. I'd be listening to you guys, not doing it.
On the second half of today's show, we identified the problem and really what the stakes are. And as you can see, stackers, the stakes are pretty high. In the second half of this show, I want to talk about how do we circumvent all this so we don't have to take these hardship withdrawals in the future. We learn from the past. We learn from the present. We're going to go over some systems you can use in your life to make sure that you're not looking at these as a potential place to take money. But at the halfway point of every show, we turn the spotlight over to Mr. Doug, who's got a little this moment in history going on today, I think.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today's a big day in the history of literature in America. The Scarlet Letter was first published way back in 1850. That's the book about the woman who was forced to wear a red letter on her clothes because she committed adultery. What do you think is the financial equivalent of the Scarlet Letter? I bet it's something like when a CPA says, look, this doesn't have to be exact, guys. Just round it to the nearest 1,000. Whatever it is, I feel like Joe's mom deserves a Scarlet Letter after I saw her asking the fireworks guy in the Walmart parking lot for a hot stock tip. Whatever it is, I feel like Joe's mom deserves a Scarlet Letter after I saw her asking the fireworks guy in the Walmart parking lot for hot stock tips. I can't speak too loudly, though, because it's true that I did get talked into buying the premium air to put in my tires this time around. Of course, right after he rotated the air, so the old El Camino rides right. Know what I mean? Here's today's question. When accountants see something financially that's not going well for the company, what's their equivalent to the Scarlet Letter that they use to show their negativity? I'll give you a hint. This answer's easier than you think. And hey, Drew, in Mom's Basement Facebook group, do not get triggered because we're talking about accountants. Man, the last time we brought up accountants, I thought Drew was going to throw an HP12C at me. I'll be back right after I see if I can get my receipts sent to me as NFTs. That's how modern I am, Stackers.
Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Unlike other AI, Slackbot lives in Slack. It understands you, your team, and your work, so you can ask it for help with anything.
Can I ask it to summarize client feedback?
Yes.
Can I ask it to find time for a meeting?
Absolutely.
Can I ask it to turn our meeting notes into a launch plan?
Sure.
Can I ask it to call me the boss?
Actually, you can.
The balls.
See how Slackbot can turn you into
the balls
at slack.com/meet-slackbot.
Hey there, Stackers. I'm NFT lover and guy who's never once let the air go stale in his tires. You know how bad that can be for your automobile. Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. To commemorate the initial publishing of the Scarlet Letter way back in 1850, we asked the question, if we're thinking about accounting instead of literature, what would an accountant's equivalent be when they're looking at a company's performance? The real answer? Accountants use numbers as their love language. I know, right? And to denote a company going the wrong way, they began using the color red. So a scarlet number for accountants would be red ink on that company's balance sheet. See, I told you were overthinking it. And no need to throw that HP calculator at me, Drew. Although if your calculator didn't work the way you wanted, you may want to throw it because, you can't count on it anymore. I'll just show myself out.
So good. Where you could end with the dad joke. It's like even the East German judge gives you a 10.
Is there ever a time that we haven't figured out a way to end in a dad joke? We're pretty damn good at it.
And I can imagine Drew with that 12C aimed at the screen and then put it back down.
The great thing about that joke is only accountants get it. Or maybe like everybody else is like, is that some kind of document like an IRS form 12C?
They're hitting replay. They're like, wait, what? What? Man, did you have one of those calculators?
I was a writing major, Joe.
So you didn't have a 12C.
I had no need for a 12C.
They called it the backwards Polish notation, where you put things in backwards you literally put the numbers in and then times.
I had the calculator that you could spell boobs on if you held it upside down.
You laughed with everybody. Everybody else in the room is like, number one, you're in church. And number two, you're 47 years old. Get over it.
But still, I mean, it's a great word.
Not the place. Doug, on this topic, by the way, you had a couple questions that you said you were going to wait on. Is now a good time maybe to bring those up?
Well, I think so. You'll tell me. But it was something OG said towards the beginning about hardship and not paying hardship reasons and not having to pay a 10% penalty. Like he was saying that as though there are a specific list, but he didn't like rattle them up. Is there a specific list of hardship issues that would, I mean, if it came to this, and clearly we're not advocating for it, but if it came to this, you wouldn't have to pay the 10%. And is it the same list across any 401k administrator, or is it different by whoever's running your 401k?
It is. Those are great questions. Number one is...
I know. That's why I asked it, dude.
Well, I love them because they're questions I think that everybody has. This is an IRS list. So the IRS has these specific reasons. 401k plans can have their own rules beyond those. Your employer can determine what qualifies as, quote, an immediate and heavy financial need, to use the nerd language. And your own plan might actually make you do some extra stuff to get it. But the IRS has a list on their end of exactly what meets the criteria. So the answer is it can be specific to your 401k for these additional things that you need to take money out. And that's a good question to ask, by the way, as you're getting your HR documents when you first start out the job. Like, if something goes wrong, what are the reasons I can get money out? Although, as we demonstrated, I think earlier, you don't want to. They might have their own rules. The number one is the top of the funnel is the IRS has a checklist, and then your provider can narrow those slightly. But from the IRS perspective, there's a bunch of reasons why you can take money out of your plan.
So hold on. You said that the provider can narrow those, so they can trump the federal government and say, yeah, they have a list of 10, but we're only going to allow 6.
They can. As an example, they might tell you have to demonstrate that you don't have money in savings to pay for this before you take money out. They can do that. I don't know, Stackers, I'd love to hear if you've got one of those 401ks that actually do that. I've, in real life, never seen a 401k administrator that's that big a I guess to put it,
I don't think you're trying hard enough, Joe.
To put it kind of bluntly, like, I would just think, man, why would you do that? But yes, they are able to do that. And also, some of these hardship withdrawals, the 10% penalty is not applied equally to all these things. In other words, some say, yes, you can take the money out and not return it, but there will still be the 10% early withdrawal penalty. So they will still let you rip the money out, but you might have the 10% early withdrawal penalty. So you want to make sure that you specify that if you're taking out the money. Am I going to have the early withdrawal penalty, or is this exempt from the early withdrawal penalty? And that can also change from employer to employer. So that might be specific.
But it's not, you say employer, but I don't think it's your employer who's setting that. It's the administrator of the employer's 401k fund.
It'll be whoever
right. I mean, we all have enough reasons to hate our employer. We don't need to give them another reason. Like, I'm not putting my money in a 401k. My management team sucks.
Now we can hate other people besides our employer.
Yeah, that's right. We're giving you hateful options.
You know how in improv they say, everybody wants to begin with but no but in improv you go, yes, and.
Yes, and.
I hate my employer. Yes, and you can hate your administrator too. Bonus points. In just a moment, we're going to jump back into our topic and tell you how to get out of the potential of needing to take a 401k loan. Make sure that never happens to you. Set up your money with the end in mind. But before that, we got a brand new segment on the show. Steve, we need the Herald horns. Brand new segment. Here's OG and Anna talking financial tips for noobs.
We know this whole money thing can be complicated sometimes, so let's break down the financial planning basics with OG and Anna.
We can talk about our new thing that we're doing. Like, we don't even have a name for it yet. We're calling it the Anna and OG show. I'm not sure.
That doesn't really roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. Yeah, we got to do something better. So the first thing that I want you to do before we get to naming it, before we get to talking about it, is you got to get a piece of paper out. We're going to write down the 6 key areas of financial planning. And before we start anything over this next series, we are going to rate ourselves in these categories: cash flow, retirement planning, investments, insurance, estate planning, and taxes. I think I got them all.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
Yep.
That's all 6. So give yourself a A through an F, a 1 through a 10, 10 through a 100, like whatever scale you feel like using. And what can we expect over the next 7 weeks, right? So we're going to kind of roll through this. What's on the agenda?
We'll take little subcategories of all the categories you just listed and dive into them and talk through what does that mean in a really easy, digestible way.
Each one individually. So maybe next week, for example,
Maybe touch on some cash flow, a little bit of expenses, some stuff we typically avoid, but let's get clear on it.
A big time avoider of having to deal with cash flow and expenses.
Yeah, let's address it at the very beginning.
Should we do an OG like intervention, financial planning intervention?
Yeah, we're just going to actually look at your expenses
We're gonna do mine.
and make everyone else feel better.
Everyone else would feel way better, I suspect, in a hurry. Like, well, at least I'm not that guy over there. So all 6 areas of planning, but what if you go, hey, man, I don't need to deal with this one area. I don't really care about estate planning. I don't really care about taxes. What does it matter to kind of consider all of them all at the same time?
I think we can have a financial plan in our heads that's super basic. Like we know, okay, we're just going to save a percentage of our salary.
Yeah. Somebody says, hey, save 15% and you're good.
Mm-hmm. And that could be the start. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually we got to take it one step further because all of those things interconnect. We take the example, you're saving 15% of your salary. Where are you saving that? How is that affecting your taxes today? How does it affect your taxes in the future? Where are you putting it? What are you investing it in? There's so many pieces to that interconnect with all the different categories that you mentioned.
Yeah. And the secondary effects, right? It's like you make a decision here and you're solving for whatever this problem is that you think is the major problem. And now maybe you created another problem down the line, right? The easy one is I just put a bunch of money in my pre-tax account. I save a whole bunch of taxes. It's like, well, now you have a $3 million IRA when you're 75, which sounds awesome until you realize Uncle Sam's a beneficiary of a third of that. And also they're going to determine for you how you take that money out. They're going to give you a schedule.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like we start by using these rules of thumb and what we hear is the best thing to do. But what we're going to do is interconnect all of those so that it's specialized to your plan and your financial plan and making it so that they all work together as one big
happy family.
One big happy family.
A happy
I like
family.
That.
It's
okay.
like they're like the Waltons or Little House on the Prairie.
The Brady Bunch.
Anyways, this week, homework, we already talked about it. You got to rate yourself. The only way that you can measure progress is to measure it backwards. It's impossible to project into the future what things are going to look like in terms of measuring yourself because you never feel like you're making any progress. The only way you can make progress is if you measure yourself first and then look backwards at how you've grown. So make sure you sit down, take these 6 areas, cash flow, retirement, estate planning, insurance, taxes, and investments, and give yourself a letter grade where you are today, how you feel today about your success or failure, whatever you want to say in each one of those. And then in 7 weeks from now, we're going to go back and circle back to each one of those. You're going to grade yourself again, and hopefully that confidence is increased. So next week is, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we're going to look at expenses.
Oh,
so
exciting.
Nothing to do yet about it. We'll walk through the easiest way to figure that out for you, because I know that can be really overwhelming sometimes for people. So we just want to break it down, make it as easy as possible.
All right. See you next week. Joe, have fun with the rest of the episode. See ya.
Toodles.
Oh, gee, nice job. Good work, my friend.
Well, I think Anna kind of carried that, didn't she?
As always.
Let's jump into your budget, what the long-term fix is here, OG, so people don't need to take the 401k loan. I mean, this process really starts off with setting your money up in the right place. I think that in this case, because of these hardship numbers going up, I think it begins with expenses started going up a few years ago. You didn't really notice they went up. You did colloquially, but you kept living the same lifestyle, OG, that you used to, right? You're living the same way that you used to. Okay, price is a little higher, but I can stand it. And I think it might be because you don't track expenses. You don't have a handle on what your expenses are, that you don't see the warning flags coming that maybe my dollar's not going as far as it used to.
Do I think that most people don't track their expenses? Yes, I agree that most people don't track their expenses. Correct.
And that's how you don't see the potential damage coming, especially if it's close for you.
Well, it's easy to see if you start with zero, right? If you use your credit card as a living expense vehicle, let's say that you have uneven income, you know, you have your normal salary, but maybe you get a bonus or quarterly top up or something that like kind of makes it so your cash flow is your cash flow, but it's uneven. So maybe you end up carrying some debt for a period of time, but you always pay it off with the quarterly bonus, or you always, that's when you fund all your goals, or, whatever. If you are off by just one of those, that's where it starts to spiral. If like one quarter's performance wasn't as good, or the commission wasn't as great, or it happens in like little teeny tiny, death by 1,000 paper cuts type of spending. And I think that's maybe what you're talking about here is, especially if you haven't looked at it in a period of time, to go back and say, I don't even know how much I spend on groceries. I just did this. AI is a great use case for a lot of things, but we use Monarch. I think you use Monarch too, Joe.
Yeah, I use Monarch now.
You can go on Monarch on the desktop login and download all your transactions. And some people are like super, super, super analytic. They got all the categories correct, and there's a problem with being too correct with categories, by the way. Not too correct, but like too detailed, like shopping is shopping, groceries are groceries. But it's like, yes. And somebody was talking about this. It's like, yes, but I've overexceeded my paper products budget for the quarter, because I bought paper towels this quarter instead of last. It's like, okay, let's just call that groceries. All right. But anyways, I took all the transactions and they give it to you in like a CSV file that's like whatever. I said, okay, take this and separate it into individual tabs by account. So I can like look at my Amex statement. I can look at my Visa statement. I can look at the Costco card. I can, I want to break it down like that. And then I put it in there and I said, okay, here's this file. Analyze this. Tell me what you see. Like what jumps out at you? And mine goes, it appears that you forgot to cancel a wine subscription. I know that I have a little bit of a habit, maybe not entirely healthy habit of acquiring wine. And it was pretty hard to see that number, like kind of in my face, like an aggregate 2025 spend. But again, you get right. AI doesn't have a emotion. It's just like, hey, you told me to analyze this spreadsheet. Here's what I know.
Here it is.
And then I kept on challenging. I said, well, I want to help my spending a little bit. I think we spend a little too much going out to eat. I think we spend a little too much on groceries. And it's like, well, you have a family of 5, you're definitely maybe on the higher end of dining. That's not your problem. This is the problem in spending.
It can push back on you.
Yeah. I was like, no. I think maybe we should shop a little less frequently at the grocery store and maybe, use coupons or something. It's like coupons don't get you out of this problem. This is your problem. These are your major expenses. Like, here's where the spending goes. It's not this. Yeah. And I think if you don't every so often go back and say, like, what are the big categories that our money is going into? I think you're doing yourself a disservice for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously, is going to be, if your spending is increasing and your income's not, you're going to start noticing that, or at least you should. Ergo, your credit card balances go up, whatever, or something worse like home equity line or something. But the other piece is that as you're working on your financial planning for the future, like, how are you going to figure out what number to use? If you're saying, oh, well, we spend $7,000 a month, that's our spending. Okay, great. What if you're really spending $9,000? Because a lot of times people, when they look at their expenses, they think about like, what's the Visa bill every month? It's roughly 6 to 7. Well, that's roughly 6 to 7, 8 out of 12 months, because the other 4 months, you have a vacation in there. You have your car insurance that you charge every 6 months that bumps it up. You have your property taxes that come out of your account once a year that you don't really consider. So your real spending maybe is $9,000 or $10,000 a month, but your daily day-to-day spending is 7, but you have those kind of one-off things. So if you don't get that in your face, and again, AI is a good use tool for this because, it can organize the data in any way you want. You don't have to like try to like be an Excel expert. Just download the file and go, organize this for me. And it will give you some pretty neat insight.
I like that. That's cool.
Because if you're not paying attention to it, back to your original point here, Joe, this is where that slippage starts. And then that's how you wake up in 6 years and go, how the heck do I have $80,000 in credit card debt?
Right. A $30 restaurant visit, going back to the restaurant for a minute, even though that wasn't your issue. Yours was a different piece. Allegedly. So-called. This is where I think AI is way wrong, right? It's misidentified that. the $30 out to eat becomes $50, or the nice night out that was 85 is now 120. And it's those things where you're like, okay, wow, that's up a little bit, but you still go out to eat once a week, twice a week, whatever the number is. And now you've got this much bigger number than you had just 5 years ago. It can be a real shock to the budget if you're not on top of it. Cheryl and I, that's why we have the weekly meeting, is because we can then look and we can see it coming. And the cool thing is, for us, we're used to having a set buffer in the checking account. I remember almost immediately, OG, seeing that buffer get hit, like the tripwire number get hit.
Yeah.
We're like, what happened? Oh,
And to be clear, your buffer isn't zero. The tripwire is not set at zero.
It's not set at zero. Back when I was really bad at money, it was set at zero.
$10. You're like, I always have $10 extra on my account.
And that was not good. And the cool thing is, by the way, most banks and credit unions will do this for you, where they have balance and then you can put in spendable balance, which I have as 2 numbers right on our bank statement, which is incredibly helpful. So that's our tripwire number. But when we started hitting that tripwire all the time, that's when, for me, I woke up right away. Tracking your expenses, whether it's the weekly meeting. I love I haven't done the big AI thing though, saying, hey, look for opportunities using this big 1 year number. I'm looking at it weekly. You're looking at it on the annual level. I think doing both, it would be super fun.
Well, and there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't do that you could do, right? You could say, hey, we're getting to the end of the first quarter. Based on my spending for 2025, what's coming on the horizon that I haven't even thought about in terms of those one-off type of things? Because again, it's not and this is where I do agree with the assessment from Claude or whoever did it, was it's not the daily driver of gasoline and groceries. I like, gas is up to $3 a gallon. That's a real bust in the budget. I mean, if you're driving a lot, that adds up, no doubt. The thing that busts the budget is that you didn't plan for the car insurance bill that's $1,100.
That's when it kills you.
And you're like, oh, crap. Or the tuition bill that's due, or the tax payment that's due April 15th. And the estimate that's due April 15th, and another estimate that's due June 15th, because in the IRS's infinite wisdom, that's a quarterly payment. When you pay April 15 and June 15, that's this quarter. Right on 2 months apart, that's 60 days apart. Like, yeah, but that's your quarterly payment. It's like those things that just kind of pop up as a surprise where you're just like, oh no, I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. And then all of a sudden it's like, crap, I owe this $1,500 or whatever. Use it for that as well. Like, what's coming up? How am I doing this year versus last? That's where you can identify the inflation number.
And this is where the next circuit breaker comes in. So you set the tripwire, you use AI, you have the weekly meeting, but the next layer, I think, is this is where the emergency fund really comes in, right? Because the emergency fund, when you forget those things the first, second time, you can get away with it, where a lot of people don't get away with it because they don't have the emergency fund. And then they have to go into this credit card debt spiral hell. Because the other thing that we also in our head, we don't think about is, that 27% interest rate in your credit card's a real number. Like, you're like, okay, I borrowed $500. I just got to pay $500
Listen,
back.
I'm telling you, you put that stuff in Monarch, it will point that out to you. Go, hey, your number one spend isn't groceries. It's not wine. It's $42,000 to credit card interest,
right?
Fees, or whatever,
bank fees,
or however you have it listed.
Yeah.
I'm like spending, you just like, it's like somebody punching you right in the face. Like, and then it'll be nice enough to even give you like some parenthetical to it. Like, that's $3,500 a month that provides you no economic benefit whatsoever.
It's a wonderful kick in the ass.
You're like, thank you.
Yes,
that's got to be the piece that is the aha moment for you. And if you're working on the other side of that, so it's easy. I want to say it's easy. It's noticeable if you have one credit card, you always pay it off, and this month you don't. That ought to be red flag number one. If you're somebody that has already consumer debt, you're working to pay this stuff down, and you don't track it, you just get used to like, well, I always have a Visa balance, and that Visa balance does that little, slow ramp up that you kind of insidious, you don't really feel. If you're not tracking it, then you don't really know that it's doing that. So something a little bit more frequently than once a year would be a good idea, just to see, am I making progress on this, and use these tools that are available. Like, why wouldn't you?
On Wednesday's show, we're going to nerd out with Amy Minkley about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, and what has changed in her mind as she's gone from somebody who first attended an event several years ago and then decided to put on her own event. Now she sees large numbers of people nerding out. But we're also going to nerd out about the emergency fund. How do you get the emergency fund interest rate higher? How do you make your emergency fund work better for you? So we got part 2 of this on Wednesday's show. Now we're going to transition just briefly into the back porch. And Doug, it was great. I want to do a shout out. Wasn't able to do this on the show last week just because of our recording schedule. I was just in Seattle and it was so cool. I got to see the Fintern while I was in Seattle at our bad meetup group. And it was good.
How long has it been since you saw him?
How he's grown.
Yeah, quite a bit, huh?
How he's grown.
In the photo that got posted on the Facebook basement group and also in the Seattle bad group, it's a great group photo of everybody. And then there's this one tall, skinny guy in the back just towering over everybody. So yeah, he's grown a little bit.
We actually had a couple tall, skinny guys. Nick Loper, who's been on the show several times from Side Hustle Nation, has a fantastic podcast about running side hustles. Nick hung out with us. It was good to see him. We had just some fantastic stackers, and I don't want to forget somebody, but we had people that work for Amazon, that work for Microsoft in the area, people that have retired and have done some really interesting things. We shared some retirement fears since I was there because of retirement. Gave away a couple books.
It also looks like you had a player from the Seattle Sounders who made time to come.
It did look like it, didn't it? That was funny.
Yeah.
And a guy who looked like he was on the Canadian Olympic team. And it was actually cool. He found the official Canadian jacket at a thrift store. This is the jacket I believe that the athletes used.
What?
It was so cool. It had the logo and said Canada on the back. Maybe somebody bought it, to get the
cool red coat
gear.
I see?
Yeah, the cool red coat. If you have the ability to get together with like-minded people wherever you are, I know that Boston had their first meeting. We had a national online meeting with the members of all of our groups around the country. Go join a meeting. We call it the Bad Meeting, Benjamin's After Dark. Just go meet like-minded people, whether it's our meeting or another meetup. It's super fun to get together. Had a lot of laughs, and we learned a lot from each other.
Yeah, I think that's the case in all of the groups. The Fintern has just moved to Seattle, like days before that meeting. It turned out that the Elysian Brewing, which is evil, by the way, Elysian space dust, that stuff will mess you up.
Is it Elysian or Elysian? I've always called it Elysian.
Elysian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Yeah.
But I think Elysian maybe is also correct. But nonetheless, afterwards I'm like, well, how was it? And he goes, they're a lot cooler than I thought they were going to be.
In fact, I told everybody there, because I have this, when I go have a meetup, and we did this also when I was in Omaha, I began the meeting by saying, I got this thing I want to do. You're going to cringe when I tell you what I want to do. Just stick with me, because I think by halfway through, and I had so many people at that meeting, Doug, that went, I did cringe when you said what you wanted to do, which was I wanted everybody to go around sharing, and they were like, oh God, no. And by the middle,
of those meetings.
Yeah, by the middle, everybody's sharing with each other, and it was so fun. I think the Fintern said the same thing.
How'd the group hug go? Did it go better this time than it did other times?
We did. I promise. Please come to our Benjamin's After Dark meeting. No group hug. Group hug optional. StackingBenjamins.com/bad if you want to see where they're at. Getting ready to go in Tucson. I talked to Kevin in Tucson just yesterday, actually, about the Tucson group and people asking about Coeur d'Alene now. John asking about, is there enough people in Spokane? It'd be cool to have a Spokane group. But even, you know what? And this is what Kevin and I talked about. Even if it's just a small group of stackers, having a group of 5 or 6 people, I think is every bit as fun as having a group of 40, because you can really get to know each other really well and have a good time. Doug, you and I had a stock portfolio group together. Had a, how many people were in that? We had what, 6 of us?
The investment club?
The investment club. We had like 6 of us.
I would say at our peak, we were probably closer to 8, but not everybody showed up for every meeting. We were probably in that range.
That's right. When I was there, I think it was 6 because Randy had already left. I think when I was, no, Randy was still there.
Yeah, Randy was there because he brought you in to the group like an idiot.
Even though you voted against me.
Yes.
Super fun.
Like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's got a hyphenated last name, and that's just weird.
Well, and I always vote against ending these episodes, but at some point you got to say goodbye. So to do that, Doug, what are the things that we learned from today's show?
That was pretty smooth, actually. I'm impressed with that one. Well, Joe, here's what we should have learned today. First, take some advice from Joe and OG. That emergency fund, it truly is the best way to stay out of debt. But a great budget system when you're first starting out is a great way to grab a hold of your spending. Second, how are you doing in the different areas of financial planning? Dig into the ones where you think you scored yourself low. But the big lesson? Don't threaten Joe's mom with accountant jokes. She'll tell her own. Get this. What does an accountant say when they're getting on a train? Mind the gap. I don't know why she spells it funny. It's weird that it's spelled with two A's. She thought that was pretty good, and then she made me listen to another. I shouldn't have chuckled at the first one. She said, how did the 1040 get its name? Because whenever you get $50, you keep 10 and they keep 40. Ah! Oh, you're killing me, Ma. It's in a cruel world.
It's a cruel.
Yeah, I said it.
I see what you did there.
This show is the property of SB Podcast, LLC, copyright 2026, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. And oh yeah, before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
Welcome to the after show. This is the part of the show that doesn't exist. OG had to, unfortunately, take what looks like a pretty important phone call. We can see him on the other side of the card table.
Based on the consternation on his face?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an important one.
Oh, but hand motions? Oh, yeah.
Maybe he'll be back. But for those of you that are new to the after show, this is the part of the show where we no longer talk about, sometimes we talk about money, but not often. Usually we're talking about movies, about video games, about whatever's going on, trips that we took.
Stuff that cost us money.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the thing we're going to talk about now, though, is there's a new show that apparently OG told you about that
Yes.
I'd never even heard of this show.
Well, that's the thing is OG's kind of here with us in spirit because OG did talk about this like a year or two ago. This is not a new show. It's new to me. Yeah. I have a feeling a lot of people listening are going to be like, duh. I just finally, we were out of things to watch and I'm like, I remember OG saying something about Lioness on Paramount. Holy cow. Is that just a fun, but also I'll say intelligent show, but it's a fun ride.
This is Tyler Sheridan.
It's Tyler Sheridan.
Who's the Yellowstone.
Taylor
Sheridan. Yes.
Yeah. And honestly, I think this is arguably the best of his TV that I've seen.
But he's got all these shows that tie into the Yellowstone universe. This is not a piece of the Yellowstone universe at all.
No, not at all. In fact, if this was probably closest to Sicario, which was an early movie that he did. He did.
Did he do Sicario?
He did.
This is the second Sicario conversation I've had in 24 hours.
Oh, really? So, early days when he started doing movies, he kind of did a triumvirate of modern Westerns, or what were being billed as modern Western. Look, people call Star Wars a modern Western. It's not that, but in spirit.
Or Firefly.
Yeah. But he did Wind River, he did Hell or High Water, and he did Sicario. And this Lioness is probably closest to Sicario in the subject matter, but Yeah, it's a fun CIA operative, lots of action, shoot 'em up kind of stuff, but the plot is complex enough, makes it intelligent, and there aren't that many times, maybe because I've never been a CIA operative, as far as you know, there aren't that many times. That's how I make my cover. But there aren't that many times you're like, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. They would never say that, or they would never do that. It's engaging. I'm sure there's 100 of those if you're in that world, but if you're not, that's how I know when a show sucks, is when it's not anything I'm familiar with and you can be like, come on, that's ridiculous. Like Marshals, by the way, we watched the first episode of Marshals, another Taylor Sheridan thing, and it blows. But Lioness is tight the whole way through. It's good all the way through. Both the kind of the political aspect of it and the action side of it is really good. I was not a Zoe Saldana. Am I saying her name right? I was not a fan of hers before that, not because I had any reason not to be. I just didn't really know her work enough, but she's very good. I still don't like Nicole Kidman. Luckily she doesn't get a lot of screen time, at least not yet. But overall, man, OG, this is probably one of the best recommendations that you've given me. And it took like a year and a half for me to come to my senses on it.
That's why does she? Well, we can get into it another time, but I don't know why you don't like Nicole Kidman. Cheryl's the same with Charlize Theron. She's always like this, and I'm like, wow, she's a very good actress. And she's like, yeah,
I disagree on Charlize, but Nicole Kidman, mostly because now her face is frozen. I just
Doug's all about looks, Joe.
Yes.
Well, I'm not saying she was or is a very, very good actress. No question about it. But yeah, look, you're on screen. I have to look at you when you're on screen. It's weird when the area between the bridge of your nose and your upper lip does not move for any reason whatsoever. It's just weird.
It's like that. Did you guys ever see the Santa Clauses?
Well, before we get to that, Doug, there is times in our life where I wish the spot between the bottom of your nose and the top of your chin didn't move.
You just changed the zone that you didn't want to move.
I've had those days.
Is now one of those times, Joe?
No, we're good now. Oh, gee, what the Santa Claus was?
I was going to say, who else is in the Lioness that was he was the number 2 guy in House of Cards. It's like Michael somebody or other.
Oh, he is good.
That guy.
And he's the presidential assistant or whatever. He plays that role.
Deputy CIA director.
Yeah, he plays that role very well. And
yeah, he was also in the Jack Ryan reboot.
Same role, basically.
He's been typecast.
Deputy assistant to the assistant manager or something. You know what I mean? Like the in between. Morgan Freeman's in the Lioness also. I think he's the vice president, right? Does that sound about right?
He might be Secretary of State. I think he's secretary. It's tough to tell. I might have looked away at that moment when he made his first entrance, but yeah, he's pretty high up there somehow.
Yeah.
And actually, I forgot about him. He's fine, but I'm less impressed with him.
Yeah, he just adds the gravitas to that senior role, whatever.
He's great at playing that role.
Yeah, he comes in and goes like, "Oh, we need to have heads on the wall by Tuesday." And they're like, "Oh, okay, right away, sir." And then like that's his line and. Yeah, I like it. They got another Lioness coming in a couple of months.
Oh, there's a new season, so this is perfect.
Oh, yeah. I'm midway through or almost at the end of season 2, and it's so. I mean, season 1 was great enough to certainly make me go for season 2, and season 2 is way better. I would say season 2 is almost 100% better than season 1.
It's wild that opening, right?
On season 1,
season 2.
Oh, season 2.
Like the whole reason season 2 exists, like the opening, like what happens. Have you forgotten? You're just like, it's just an episode to you. You don't even know what the storyline is of the show anymore.
Wow. I am drawing a complete blank right now.
Oh, this is great. This is great radio.
Yeah, can we cut this part?
He's like, it's so great. It's amazing. It's my favorite show. I have no idea what it's about, but
there's no reason to get this way.
I had a conversation with Doug about that recently on another front. It's a short-term memory that goes first, Doug. Short-term memory goes first.
No, but here's the thing. You're right. That was pretty cool. It was engaging, not cool, but it was very engaging. Yeah. But what stuck with me more was actually the open to season 1, which is the introduction to the true Lioness.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Taking one for the team.
You get an origin story. You get how she's a natural badass just to start with by nature.
Yeah.
Or have you forgotten that?
Oh, no, I got it.
Well, and that's a great place for a quick segue, which is Cheryl watched the Apple TV show Slow Horses with Gary Oldman and Kristen Scott Thomas, I think is.
Oh, that's right. She's the other name in it. Yep.
Is her name. She watched the first 4 episodes. She said she was bored to tears. You watched it at first, didn't love it, came back to it, liked it a lot. I got to watch it on a plane because I just like the idea of spies, and I like Gary Oldman's acting, and I also liked just this idea that these spies are really bad spies, and so they all get demoted to this place. And I was engaged from the beginning. I thought it was great. I thought the opening sequence where this guy is you don't know it's a training run at the time. They're trying to stop this guy from detonating a bomb, and they fail because the dude on the other end of the earpiece says blue jacket with a white shirt. And it turns out it's a white jacket with a blue shirt. So he's onto the wrong guy. And because of this miscommunication, he gets demoted. And now they're trying to solve this. There's a poor kid, basically, who's been grabbed out of a university, and a group is going to cut off his head. And it's on TV, and they're trying to stop that from happening. And I got to tell you, I'm on episode 3. I don't know why Cheryl thought it was boring. I don't know what you did like at first.
I got it as far as Cheryl got 4 or 5, and I was like, I'm out. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I am in, man. I think, and Gary Oldman is fantastically cranky. He is OG on steroids,
I think he should be your hero because he also says whatever he wants to say.
No filter.
0 filter.
Yeah.
And it's all the stuff we wished we could say.
Yeah.
I think you should give it another try. I think you were right about at that point, OG, where we gave up the first time. And then we were just in a spot where we had nothing to watch, and we went back to it. Oh, I know. My wife had seen an article about the author of the original book.
As season 2 was coming out, they did another media push.
That must have been it. So we're like, let's give this another shot because that sounds really good. And then I don't know what changed because we went back and started over again. Like, this is awesome. What were we thinking the first time?
I'm wondering if something happens around episode 4 that it gets worse. But anyway, right now I'm in it. I'm excited. Good stuff. Lioness and Slow Horses.